All right, here we go here. Are you able to actually see my PowerPoint right now? Can somebody give me a thumbs up in the emojis?
We can see it.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so first I wanna go over the first year portal, and you can access this information on your web browser by going to this link here or pc.pitt.edu and selecting first year student. And it's easy to access on your desktop or laptop computer. But you can also access any of this information on the My Pitt app. So you would just choose the same selections on the app like you would on your desktop. So you would choose first year student, and all of these buttons here that you see on the screen are what you can see on your desktop and through the application. So you can find out your deadline information, accommodation information. You can sign up for further Zoom events on there as well. So anything on your cell phone, you can also see in the web browser, and it's through the My Pitt mobile app. So if you are an incoming first year student, I just want to let you know that Housing and Panther Central will only ever communicate to you via your Pitt email address. So if you're relying on getting that email to your Gmail or your Hotmail, you're not going to find it there. Make sure that you are actively checking your Pitt email. And if you have issues accessing your Pitt email, to please contact the Pitt Help Desk, and that information can be found on our website as well. But if you are a student, you should have already received your, or I'll rephrase, if you are a student and you've deposited with admissions up through last Friday, you should have received your email from housing stating what your application deadline is. And in that email, it includes this document here. So it overviews kind of what's due for you in the upcoming weeks. So your housing application is due either May 1st, May 8th, May 15th, or May 22nd. We have all of those deadlines out there right now, depending on when you've deposited. And you want to make sure that you have your full deposit and your application completed by that date. And you also want to make sure that you have pre-submitted your photo for your Panther card by that date. Your Panther card is something that will get you through your entire 4 years of campus. It's how you get in and out of your residence hall, how you eat on campus, how you do your laundry, how you get on the city bus. Everything is going to be on that card. So you want to make sure that you pre-submit your photo so that you can either have it mailed to you or you can pick it up at arrival. So we're trying to make it as easy and seamless as possible for you. So your deadline is in the email that you get from Panther Central and Housing, but the deadline that is the same for all of our incoming first year students to update their preferences is June 1st. So your housing application is due on that date that is in your email address, but you have all month of May to decide if you have a roommate request, if you want to apply for an LLC, if you want to update your building preferences or your meal plan preference. You have the entire month of May to update that, or any day after you apply for your housing up until June 1st, because housing does not even look at any housing applications until June 2nd. So that is when we pull all of our data to start assigning our students. So again, your specific personal deadline is in the email that came to your Pitt email address. And then the June 1st deadline is to update your preferences. Your housing application deadline is not June 1st. Your preference deadline is June 1st. So when I say preferences, this is something that is on the application. We ask all of our incoming first years to include at least 3 to 5 building preferences on their application, so we have a better sense of where you may want to live on campus. This chart here can actually be found on our website under first year accommodations, and it's something that I usually send to my first years that reach out to me with questions on where I think that they should put on their housing application that they should live. So some of the things that I tell my students to consider whenever they put their preferences on there are, do you want a roommate? Do you want several roommates? Do you want to be on lower campus or upper campus? Are you looking for a communal bathroom? Do you want a semi-private or a private bath? Those are all things that should be considered. Is air conditioning a necessity to you, or do you not mind? Keep in mind, if you're not from Pittsburgh, it's cold more than it's hot. So obviously air conditioning preference is for everybody, but as someone who is always cold, air conditioning is not a necessity to me. So, you know, if someone's top priority is to live with one other student and they have that one other student in mind, that's their roommate preference, and they're only looking for a double, I would highly recommend them to put, you know, every kind of double on campus that's available to them as a preference. So you're looking at Towers, Holland, Nordenberg, and even Sutherland has some doubles up there. But if they are someone who thrives with living with more than one other person and wants that really awesome, like, suite experience, then maybe Bruce or Sutherland is the best option for them. So those are things that you should consider whenever you are updating your housing preferences on your application. Meal plan options. So it might seem a little daunting to choose your meal plan right now, but the great news is you do have the ability to change your meal plan all the way up until add drop of the fall semester. So we do give you some time in the beginning of the school year to kind of get a feel for what your schedule looks like, to ultimately decide what your meal plan should be that semester. So don't feel too pressured about what you put on your application today, because once you receive your housing assignment that has your meal plan booking with it, you will have the ability to change it all the way up until add drop. So if you think that, you know, maybe you're local to Pittsburgh and you plan on going home every weekend because you're really going to miss mom's home cooked meals, but then you get to campus and you join a club or an organization and you're with your friends like every weekend, then maybe that unlimited plan is the best option for you. And you don't want the weekday unlimited, because, you know, if you're going to be here on the weekends, you might as well get the full experience for dining. And then the great thing is whatever you decide to change for fall and spring, later in the fall semester, you do have the ability to change your spring meal plan again as well. So if your schedule changes, or maybe your club is something that goes outdoors and it's really cold in the fall and you'll be outside more in the spring, then you have the ability to update your meal plan again for the spring term. We will have some dining experts, I say because they work in dining, at one of our later Zoom sessions in May. So feel free to hop onto our website to see when they will be joining us. And we also have another guest appearance from an LLC representative next week on a Zoom session. So if you have any dining specific questions, feel free to hop onto that Zoom later on in May to ask them to our dining representatives. So like I said, I am going to be going in depth a little bit more to what the first year housing portal looks like, but this is just a screenshot of what it looks like. So step one, you want to complete your housing application, and step two is when you update your preferences and apply for an LLC if you are interested. So just a list of resources that you have as an incoming Panther. Housing services website, that pc.pitt.edu. Click on first year housing. All of these, or all of our information is there that is necessity to you. Panther Central is also another great resource. They are open 24/7, so please feel free to call, chat, or email them. I work directly with Panther Central, and whatever they are not able to answer, they usually direct to me so that we get you the right answer in a timely manner. And then, as stated before, we do have upcoming Zoom sessions every Tuesday in May at least, and potentially throughout some of the other weeks this summer. So to always rely to our website for our upcoming Zoom sessions to register for. So before we hop to Q&A, I am gonna share my screen to the portal now. So this is what that first year housing portal looks like. And step one is complete your housing application. This is the most precious part of your housing experience on campus. If you don't have a signed contract and a paid deposit, we can't guarantee that you will have your housing guarantee for the incoming school year. So you want to make sure that your application is complete. And then once that portion is complete, you should never have to go back in to your application, because once you click update your preferences, all of those preferences that you put on, it's not letting me put on your housing application are here. So maybe that first time you completed your housing application, you weren't interested in 12-month housing, but next summer you might have a really awesome co-op for, if you're an engineer or something like that, and you want to update that to yes, that you are interested, just to receive further information about that. It's going to ask you about your resident student association interest. Your LLC request is also going to be on here. So you can update that as well. So maybe I'm not interested in ROTC anymore, and maybe instead I want to apply for honors. The assignment priority question is only for our students who apply for an LLC but also have a roommate request. And the reason we put this on here is because we do have years where we are able to accommodate roommate requests into LLCs, even if the roommate didn't apply. But we also have years where we don't have enough room to bring those roommates in. And we end up reaching out to our students to say, hey, it looks like you were accepted into the LLC, but you have a roommate request. And if you put on your application that you'd rather live with your roommate than be a part of the LLC. So we are going to release you from the LLC to live with your roommate. So this question here is specifically for our LLC partners to have a better idea of what your priority preference would be if you were accepted into an LLC that was not able to pull in your roommate that did not apply for the LLC. My room preferences are here as well. You can see that I'm really interested in living in a double, but if I don't get that double, because I don't really have a roommate request right now, then I prefer to live in a single by myself. But I think ultimately I decide if I don't want to live in that single, that maybe I'd prefer to actually live in a suite. So I'm going to come in here and put a Sutherland 6-person suite instead as my 5th preference. Your roommate matching questions are here as well, so you can update these. Maybe you're an early riser right now for school, but in the fall, you have all afternoon classes, so you don't plan on being an early riser. Feel free to update this anytime in May, all the way up until June 1st. And then lastly, and probably the part of the application that we get the most questions on, is the roommate group requests. And we will send out further instructions in May, just because we know that a lot of students are mostly thinking about just completing the application first and then worrying about the roommates. So more instructions will come out about this, but you want to designate one person as the group leader. So let's say that I want to be the group leader. You can see here that my status is leader, and I want to invite my friend Holly to live with me. So I found Holly, I'm going to select her, and you can see that now Holly is invited to join my roommate group. So now when Holly logs in to complete her preferences, it's going to show that she was invited to my group. And right here, it'll say accept or deny or decline the request. And all that she has to do is hit accept. So housing only views a complete group with a leader and a member. Any invited student is not considered a member of the group. So we will send reminders to students who have invitations that are pending. And we will send emails to group leaders that do have pending invites in their groups as well. So if you feel as if you're confused about it, don't fret. We'll be sending out information about the whole process for roommates. But the biggest thing I can say is make sure that you have a leader and that you send the invitation to your anticipated roommate. Now, if we meet a group of students that want to pull us into their group, because you can have a group all the way up until 8, because we do have 8-person suites in Sutherland, you cannot be a part of 2 groups at one time. So I would just have to remove Holly from my group and then leave my group. And then there's now room for my new friend to invite myself and Holly into their group. And this is also where you can update your meal plan preference. So all you do is click finish, you can see that it says, thank you for updating your preferences, and that's done. And then that indicated interest in the LLC, and now I actually have to go in and apply for the LLC here. So this is where the LLC application comes in. And if you have not completed your LLC application, you'll also get another reminder email this month to let you know that you have a pending LLC application to complete. Okay, so now that I've stopped sharing my screen, I am going to open it up for Q&A. Let's see here. So if somebody indicated interest on their application about receiving information about Gradgard, that was just so that they can reach out to you to say, we see that you inquired, you are able to not move forward with Gradgard. It's just somebody that we recommend, but we also recommend in general just to have renter's insurance when living in on-campus housing. If somebody needs to update anything in their housing portal information, if it's any of the preferences that I just showed on the screen, you can go in as many times as you want, anytime throughout the month of May up until June 1st. But if it's an actual profile update, like your phone number or something, you should contact Panther Central with that question. An LLC request is not necessary. And to further give you some more information about LLCs, LLCs are living learning communities. So these are communities designated on campus that are major-based and interest-based. So we do have LLCs for engineering or health sciences or nursing, but we also have interest-based LLCs like music or appreciation of the arts. So if an LLC is not really something that you're interested in, you don't feel any pressure to apply for it, but they are an option and a great opportunity to meet other students with your same interest or your major if you are interested. Are single room residence halls on a first come, first served basis? Not necessarily. Obviously, it depends on the requests, the amount of requests that we get for single rooms every year, but we really try to give students who are interested in a single to be in a single because we do have a certain amount of them on campus. Gradgard is a third-party company that offers renter's insurance for students. If you are asking for information, it is in the application and on our website. If you submit your photo ID after the deadline, there's still an opportunity for you to pre-submit after your deadline, but I would just say get it in as soon as possible, just so that we make sure that we have everything in order for you to actually receive it before arrival. Can a student update photo ID after submission? Some forgot to include photo when he submitted housing application a few weeks ago. Absolutely. So I would just refer to the information in the email I got in his Pitt email on how to pre-submit your photo. There's still time to pre-submit your photo, especially if you had that May 1st deadline. So question about honors. My understanding is those in honors college may not have as many preferences on housing. Is that the case? Absolutely not. So even though you're accepted into the honors college, that doesn't necessarily play a factor in anything with your on-campus housing preferences. So some students are confused about the Honors LLC. So just because you were accepted into the honors college doesn't mean that you are automatically into the Honors LLC. You still need to apply for the LLC to live in the LLC. But we have plenty of honors college students that apply to other LLCs and live in those, and also other places on campus. So just like I said, just because you're in the honors college doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be in the LLC. You can apply for any other preference on campus.
So do you mind if you can hear me, right?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry, just as a follow-up to that so that I get the final thing. We did a tour of the college and actually there were two dorms pointed to us that said this is where the Honors College students freshmen stay. Is that not the case?
So like I said before, just because you're accepted into the Honors College, that's completely different than the Honors LLC. So if you are interested in living in the Honors LLC, then yes, that location is specific for the Honors LLC. But if you're in the Honors College and you just want to live in regular on-campus housing, you have the opportunity to apply for any other housing preference on campus. So
Wonderful. That answered my question. I truly appreciate it.
you're welcome. Um, how hard is it to get into an LLC? We saw you have a first choice and second choice. Is it possible to set a third choice? At this time, there's no possibility to set a third choice. And it's honestly different every year for how hard it is to get into an LLC. It just depends on the number of applications that the LLCs get in a year. So we've had years where every student has been accepted into an LLC, and we've had years that we've had to turn people away. So I would just recommend applying for an LLC if you're really interested, but then also prioritizing your building preferences, because if you don't get into that LLC, then you would at least still get one of your building preferences for on-campus housing. What are the projected dates for when first years will be moving into their housing? So at this time, arrival dates and schedules have not been released, and we are still looking for the recommendation from the COVID Medical Response Office to approve the arrival dates. So as soon as we know what those are, they will be posted to our website. And then your specific student, they will find out their arrival date and time after they get their notice of assignment in July. So we do base arrival dates and times on where students live. So that information comes a little bit later in the summer, but arrival dates and times are usually like a span over a week, but I can't guarantee that it's going to look like that this year. Like I said, we are looking to get the dates approved and things like that. And when they are, they will be posted to our website. If a potential roommate has already submitted their housing application and chose random, can they change it to get a specific roommate? Absolutely. So if you have a friend that doesn't have a roommate request on their application, make sure that they go in to their update preferences portal and creates a roommate group with the student or students that they want to live with. And then we try our best to get those students together. Can you update LLC preferences in the portal if you've already filled it out? Yes. So if you say you initially put in that you were interested in the nursing LLC and completed that application, but maybe you're interested in ROTC instead, you'll need to go on to the preferences and update it to ROTC and then complete that application so that we know what LLC you're actually interested in. Some schools provide priority move-in for those involved with sports or clubs. Does Pitt do this as well? I'm assuming by priority move-in you mean like early arrivals. And if we are allowed to accept early arrivals, you must be involved in a larger student group or sport, and the group or sport will provide the list of students who are approved to move in for early arrivals. So we don't get the request from the student or the parent. It comes directly from the school or the team or the club. Which Sutherland wing is dedicated to Honors Llc? Options to choose are East and West, but I'm only interested to the wing dedicated for Honors. I don't want to spend some of my choices by choosing both. We're not able to disclose what wing is dedicated to Honors. It's one of the wings. It honestly depends on the number of applications we get and how many students we accept into the LLC. So it can change at any given time. That's why we say that not to base your building preferences on the LLC, because if you don't get accepted into the LLC, then we have your building preferences as a backup to where you want to live. I've been trying to fill out the housing application, but the website is down. Will that affect me if it's past my deadline? So at this time, the housing application is still down. We did have a system upgrade yesterday, and we are expecting it to last a little bit longer, but to please rely on our website and your email for any updates regarding the application to be back up. We are not expecting it to be down this entire week. So if your deadline is May 8th, that's perfectly fine. You'll still have plenty of time to complete your application. If your deadline was May 1st, stay tuned for more communication. If we extend your deadline to May 8th or not, it will be coming to your Pitt email. So regardless, we will recognize that the application was down for a day or two and let you apply for your housing. Can you select the Honors LLC if not accepted into the actual Honors College, but have been invited to apply again? Absolutely. We have students that live in the LLC that are not in the Honors College. That's how we make really great communities, because you have every kind of student in there. Any Gradgard specific questions should be directed towards Gradgard. I'm not able to answer those because I don't have the specific numbers. If a student is in honors and wants to live in Sutherland, do they have to apply to the Honors LLC? So Sutherland will have dedicated housing for non-LLC students as well. So if you're a regular student who just wants to live in Sutherland, you should absolutely put that as your building preferences, because we have a whole other wing of Sutherland that won't be honors housing for our regular student population. Do LLCs provide structured programming? Yes, they have LLC specified programming and RAs that are specific to that LLC to help with that programming. And then also, if it's like a partner or a major specific LLC, there are like schools and other constituents attached to the LLC. So they do have some guidelines on programming. But if you have actual LLC specific questions, to please tune into our next week's Zoom, because we will have somebody from Residence Life here answering questions regarding LLCs. Yes, you can apply for the Honors LLC if you are not in the Honors program. Yes, you are still able to update your housing application even after your deadline. You can update your preferences as many times as you want, all the way up until June 1st. Question about roommates. So if you are in a group and you request a suite, but you end up not getting put into the suite, how will they get split up? Are we able to choose who do we get a double with? So although we say that nothing is guaranteed as far as like your roommate and things like that, and it ultimately depends on what housing looks like and the university looks like and things like that, we really, 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 really try to keep our roommates together. So if you are in a group of 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, your options are going to be Sutherland for the most part, unless you are in a group of 5 and you can apply to live in Bruce. But we really try to keep you together. And if you are split apart, we try to keep roommates together and try to make you as close as possible by making you on the same floor and even neighbors. I am not able to recommend what you should prioritize on your application. If you have a roommate that did not apply for your LLC, that's ultimately your choice. And I don't want you to come after me after assignments have gone out and saying that I directed you in the wrong way. So if your roommate did not apply for the LLC, I think that's a conversation you should have with that roommate. You know, what is your priority And what are you looking forward to most to be on campus? Do you really want to live in a community that has the same interest or major as you, and meet some new people, or do you want to live with your roommate in another building? So there's no wrong answer. Ultimately, it just depends on what you're looking for. Which buildings have single rooms for first years? At this time, we have singles in Lothrop, Holland, and Tower C. My daughter applied for a suite with 3 other girls. She didn't see a place to indicate which of the girls would be roommates. Did she miss something, or does that come later? So you're not actually able to indicate if you're in a group of 4 and it's a 4-person suite, and say myself and one other person really want to be the roommates. There's nowhere to indicate that on the application. We assign based as the group of 4. So if by chance there needs to be an update to the space after assignments have gone out, we ask you to reach out to us at that time. So if myself and that one other person didn't end up in the same bedroom, we should reach out to Panther Central after assignments go out. We try to get assignments out to everyone mid-July. So don't hold me to it, but that's what we aim for every single year. It's at least July, and we give you plenty of time to prep for arrival and to connect with your roommate to make sure that you are each bringing what you need to be bringing. If you have application specific questions about if you submitted your application today, please contact Panther Central. How often do students get their first choice of building preferences, or second or even third? So coming from someone who does all of the assignments for first year students, which is about 4,000 students every year, we really try to give our students at least one of their preferences. So something that goes through my mind as I'm doing my assignments is if I have 2 students who want to live together and have preference the same buildings, I may end up putting them in a building that's maybe second or third or fourth on their choice, because at least they're getting their roommate in a building that's on their list. Whereas if I have a student who doesn't have a roommate request and has, you know, a Towers double as their first and second choice, I may try to put them in their top building choice first, because they're at least getting one of the buildings that they want and they're getting the random roommate that they want. So we really try to give you at least one of your building preferences, but that kind of is how it works out. But we always try to give a story if you inquire about how you ended up somewhere that is lower on your list. So if you reach out to us and say, I had Holland as my third choice, like, why did I end up there? We can at least say, well, it was third on your list and you did end up with your roommate. So like, we really tried to make you happy in every aspect. Building preferences has nothing to do with the LLC application. So think of them as completely separate. So if you are an honors college student and you want to live in the honors LLC, think of it as, I'm in the honors college, I want to apply for the LLC, and then your building preferences should be different. The LLCs do not look at building preferences at all whenever they're accepting students into the LLC. Anything regarding the housing application and the portal is currently down. So if you were trying to get on yesterday or even today, it's still potentially down. So just please stay tuned as to when it's going to be back up.
Can you go back a second for 2 things, actually? When you were talking about, so if you're in honors and you want to live in Sutherland and you want to be part of the LLC, you don't list Sutherland as your first choice?
No, because the honors selection or the LLC acceptance trumps building preferences. So just because you put Sutherland as your choice, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to end up in the honors LLC. The LLC is only looking at the application. They're not looking at building preferences. So if you absolutely want to live in Sutherland, regardless of being accepted into the LLC or not, that is when I would say that you should include Sutherland as your building preference. So the LLC is only looking at the application, their application, not the housing application.
So LLC is looking at the LLC application regardless of what building you're saying, and they're going to be housed in whatever building they're housed in, regardless of, even if something's been in the same building for the past 10 years, it doesn't matter. If the LLC moves to a different building, then that's where they're going to be moving.
Correct.
Okay, this next question is, if we were looking at the housing portal and submitted it, does that mean that it didn't go through if we were looking at it today? Because it appeared to be working.
If it was recently, yes, it's up and we will look into that for you. I'm just unable to look at individual requests right now. So I would contact PC with your request and they can absolutely check to make sure to see if your application was put through.
Thank you.
Yep. So I can't actually give you the actual date of when housing assignments are announced because I have not even started them yet. So LLCs select their students in the month of June and they tell me who's accepted into the LLC, and then we assign those students into the LLC. And then when notice of assignments go out from housing, right after that is when the LLCs will send their acceptance emails, because we feel as if you should get your notice of assignment first before you find out that you're in an LLC. So you might get your assignment for Sutherland, and then the next day you might find out, yep, I was accepted into that LLC and now everything makes sense. So we try to align our dates as much as possible. Do most honors college students do most honors college students get accepted into the LLC? I'm not able to give this kind of statistic. I know that the Honors LLC prioritizes students who are accepted into the Honors College, but I'm never allowed to say that you're guaranteed or that you'll be absolutely into the LLC, because obviously it depends on numbers. Do the residence halls have study hours where it's required to be quieter? I know that there are designated quiet hours in residence halls, but we don't have designated study hours where it is required to be quieter. What is the difference between Sutherland East and Sutherland West? Sutherland East is a little bit smaller than Sutherland West. Otherwise, there's really no difference. They're just on opposite ends of the building. There are two, you go in the same entrance into the building, and then you either go left or right to get to your building, but you still have the same access to all of the amenities in Sutherland. Like the Perch is there, which is a dining hall, and you still have the same accessibility to the fitness center and things like that. Okay, so how soon after we put our admissions deposit do we receive the housing application email? I would say if you have not heard within 7 to 10 days of putting your deposit down with admissions, then to reach out to us. We are only sending out housing information every Friday. So if you only put a deposit in last Friday, you wouldn't get your email until this Friday. So please stay tuned. LLC selection is not necessarily first and then the housing assignment. Oh, unless you're talking about the application, then you need to decide if you want to apply for an LLC, then you should apply for the LLC, and then your building preferences are completely separate from that. So think of it as two different answers. So, you know, maybe my first priority is I want to live in ROTC, so I'm going to apply for that application. But then if I don't get into the ROTC LLC, then I want to live in towers in general. So I just put towers A, B, and C as my building preferences. you will hear back from your LLC if you've been accepted or not after notice of assignments have gone out. If you are an Honors College student or any student interested in the Honors LLC, you want to live in the LLC, your first step is to absolutely apply for the LLC because they will need to know that you are interested in the LLC in order to accept you. So you want to make sure that you apply for any LLC, not just Honors, if you are interested in that LLC. Okay. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions come in. So I am gonna end the Zoom here. Thank you all again for joining me this afternoon. Please stay tuned for more information. Always keep an eye on our website and the My Pitt mobile app for any updates regarding the LLCs or applications or deadlines. And if you have any other questions, please reach out to Panther Central or tune in for another Zoom session this month. So have a great evening.